Where are my glasses? Our November theme is spiritually motivated moral leadership, spiritual guidance. We are drawing upon the book of the Tao of Leadership, John Heider, based upon Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching, Tao Te Ching. Sorry. Tao Te Ching. And know yourself. You are more than you think, Ernest Holmes writes. The secret of spiritual power is a consciousness of one's union with the whole and the availability of good. It can cause a flow of intelligence, stimulating the mind to purposefulness, to creative genius, to executive ability. I like that. In the Tao of Leadership, page 13, John Heider writes, true self-interest teaches selflessness. Heaven and earth endure because they are not simply selfish, but exist in behalf of all creation. I'll say that again. True self-interest teaches selflessness. Heaven and earth endure because they are not simply selfish, but exist in behalf of all creation. So it's pretty deep. The wise leader, knowing this, keeps egocentricity in check, and by doing so, becomes even more effective. Enlightened leadership is service, not selfishness. The leader grows more and lasts longer by placing the well-being of all above the well-being of self alone. The paradox is, by being selfless, the leader enhances the self. It's magic. Really. Let us affirm together with awareness up on the wall, together, conscious of my union with God, the universal love intelligence, I am guided into acts of selfless service for the highest well-being of all, placing the well-being of all above the well-being of myself alone. I grow in love, peace, power, and well-being. I stand for spiritually motivated moral leadership. Yes.
Baby's in the house.
Yeah, baby's in the house. How cool. All right, enlightened leadership. That's my focus today. So I'd like to begin with a story. It begins with a captain who is observing a light on the water. And so he tells his signalman to signal the other vessel and tell the other vessel to correct their course 10 degrees south, to which there's an immediate response, correct your course 10 degrees north. And to this, the captain, he gets a little ruffled. He goes, send another signal, correct your course 10 degrees south. I am the captain of a battleship. To which the response is, shift your course 10 degrees north. I am in charge of the lighthouse. This is a great, beautiful teaching about leadership. I love this. So when you think about it, and this is what the Tao is, the T-A-O is actually pronounced Tao. And this teaching goes back to like the 6th century BCE with the sacred text called the Tao Te Ching. And it is a series of lessons on leadership, but it's really and truly a series of lessons on life, on how to be a spiritually motivated person, how to live from our own truth, our own reality. And it's so it has all these little individual lessons, and there's a man, John Hyder, who decided to translate it or adapt it for modern times. But all of those teachings are timeless because they're based in spiritual truth. And if you remember the term "go with the flow," that's the Tao. Go with the flow. Learning how to go with the flow of the natural way of things, which means being in the flow with the general direction of the evolution of consciousness and the unfoldment of life. And so the wise leader then goes with the flow. The wise leader is flexible and is responsive to the needs of the situation, whatever the needs of the situation. So this particular captain, by not responding to the needs of the situation, put himself and his crew and his ship in danger. So it's a great lesson for being observant to what is and meeting the needs of the situation, being flexible, being responsive, being attuned to what's really happening. And that's the underlying principles of the Tao. So spiritually motivated moral leadership is the topic, and that I stand for that. And it's not just about the great spiritual leaders of our time, Jesus and Buddha and Desmond Tutu and Gandhi and all of those beautiful beings of light that inspire us. It is also for leaders in all arenas. Spiritually motivated moral leadership is a way of life, a way of being. I want to read this for you. The Latin etymology, it says, for the word spirituality is life or vigor. I also know it means breath, the breath. And spirituality is studied for the purpose of experiencing it, not just to talk about it. And spirituality is a way of life, as I said, not a series of mystical, isolated experiences. It's a way of life, a way of life. And so we engage in spiritual practices then in order to live this way of life that is informed by higher intelligence that's really already within us, but it's really about developing it and being more attuned to it. So we are also allowing the inner intelligence to lead us so that we may then lead effectively in our world. Spiritual development is about discovering personal genuineness, meaning, purpose, and direction in one's life. And it's about continually transcending our evolving. So as we continue to have our experiences in life and we kind of butt up into things that aren't working for us, it's an opportunity then to continue to evolve and to develop, I love this part, says develop greater connectedness to self and others through relationships and union with community. Union with community. So with that as a background, the idea of what spirituality is, then spiritually motivated moral leadership comes from the deepest interiority of our divine selves. And therefore, no matter what our role in life, and think of all of these, sometimes we don't realize that these are leadership roles that we play. So whether we are a parent, a caregiver, a manager, a teacher, an artist, an author, or whenever we provide any type of mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual support, guidance, or inspiration, we are in a leadership role. Those are all leadership roles. And so bringing this idea of spiritually motivated moral leadership into all of those arenas in our lives is vital, not only for our times, but it's vital in general for the perpetuation of love and peace and joy and all of that good that we desire on our planet. So the basic qualities then of spiritually motivated moral leadership that I would like to, just focus on today is really three things: being spiritually motivated, servant leadership, and also developing ourselves spiritually. Is that what I said? Spiritually, yeah, finding meaning. Oh, the first one's finding meaning and purpose, servant leadership, and developing spiritually. So finding meaning and purpose. To me, this has to do with going back to what we know to be the truth, that our spiritual teachings inform us about, and that when we go within, we listen deeply and we listen to that truth. And that is that we are living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law, and that we are spirit beings. We are individualizations of the one infinite universal source that I call God, and you might call something else, but I call God. I loved last month. It really did set us up and expand us, didn't it, in terms of what the oneness principle is, and the awareness that everything is energy, and that energy is molded by our thoughts. So science and mysticism and philosophy and all of that has really been coming together so beautifully over the last, I don't know how many decades, but when the physicists first started discovering what they call the unified field, the creative unified field of energy, creative energy. And so as we bring this perspective of oneness into whatever it is that we do in life, and we're focusing on leadership this month, we bring that awareness of our oneness and our interconnectedness. And that is really the foundation that gives meaning and purpose to our lives. And when I ask myself, what am I here for? I am here. This is what I continue to come up. I'm here to support the unfoldment of my own consciousness, and as a result, because we are all interconnected, to support the consciousness unfolding of every single person so that we all may live in greater freedom, in greater love and peace and joy and abundance, living lives that we love. And on a bigger scale, the way that I love our purpose as a community. I'm here to be the presence of divine love, co-creating heaven on earth with all of us, with the divine as in, through, and as all of us, and a world that works for everyone, where no one is left out. It's a big vision. I realize that, but it's important to have a grand vision that pulls us forward. To me, that gives my life meaning and purpose. And that's part of, I don't know what it is for you, but whatever it is, having meaning and purpose for your life is a real key to spiritually motivated moral leadership, to being that vibrance and that vitality in your life and in your community. And just like we teach in Science of Mind, the Tao encourages meditation as a way to cultivate that, to develop that awareness of union and how creation works. At least this is what I experience, as I observe my thoughts when I'm meditating and the reactions that my thoughts have on my body, my emotions and my body, I'm able to see how creation works. It begins with thought, with what I'm focusing on. And as I begin to watch that, I realize I can choose. I can choose to either hang on and cling on to something that upsets me, or I can choose to let it go and turn my attention to what it is, being the solution instead of being the one who is continually sending out negative energy into the world and creating chaos in my own life. So meditation just continues, in all the different spiritual traditions in one way or another, to be something that helps us to see how things work in the mind so that we can be more mindful of what we're focusing on and how we're using this amazing creative tool that we have, which is, by the way, it is our tool. It's not truly who we are. Who we are is the one that's observing and the one that's choosing. That's the presence of the divine as us. So we cultivate then attention to our thought and our world and its effects. And then we come to value attention in every sphere of our lives. Attention to others, attention to the situation, attention to the issues that are placed in front of us, so that we can be effective in our decision making and in our way of being in the world. The other thing that Donna brought up that is so powerful about the process of meditation and realizing divine union, that I am that one individualized, the observer self is that one individualized, is that we begin to connect with a flow of guidance and intelligence and creative genius and purposefulness that is far beyond what we think we're capable of. It really does help us tap in to that potentiality within us as spiritual beings that we are. And also, this is a really important piece. It helps us learn to trust ourselves, because we're trusting the guidance of the divine within, to trust others and also the universe, and to be more open-minded, which is really important, to be more open-minded, which supports our own growth. If we're closed-minded, we are going to stagnate. So it is important to keep the mind open to possibility, potentiality, and to understanding. So finding meaning and purpose, one of the first important parts of spiritually motivated moral leadership. The next one is servant leadership. And the Tao, by the way, is God, the presence of love. And Ernest Holmes talks about this presence of love, which is the divine, as the ever-givingness of the divine to it, givingness of the divine to its creation. And because of this, it endures eternally. It endures eternally. So as we emulate this nature of the divine, the ever-givingness of the Spirit in all of our relationships and all of our interactions with others, then what happens is we grow in vitality. We grow in our ability to, I think that the author says, last longer. To live longer, healthier, vibrant lives, because we understand that we're all one, and that giving truly is receiving, because we're all interconnected. And in truth, when you look down at the quantum level, there's no separation anyway. It's all a play of our five senses that make us think that there's separation. But in truth, there isn't. We are all one. And that means when I look into your eyes, I am seeing the one presence. The one presence. When I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I am seeing the one presence. So servant leaders use the power of intention to be a beneficial presence, and that helps to align actions and energy with a higher purpose. So when we come from this place of understanding our oneness and being that presence of love, which is what happens naturally when we realize that we are all one, is that we naturally want to alleviate the suffering of others. We naturally want to bring a loving presence. And so love then in leadership is not passive, it's active. And one of the things that Marianne Williamson often says that has really struck me is, when necessary, love can be as fierce as a mother bear protecting her cubs. So we're talking about a fierce love that truly protects those that we love and takes action in the world. So it's, a love then becomes a great power, a power for good. And that's what it is. So the wise leader realizes that because of the interconnectedness of all life, that his or her well-being depends on the well-being of all life. The well-being of all life. And that's not just other human beings. That is our planet, the atmosphere, the environment, all animals and plants and minerals, the well-being of the entire whole. And so the Tao of Leadership says that by being selfless and in service, the leader enhances self because we understand that's how it works. There's no separation. And servant leaders then live in a state of gratitude, for the opportunity to help others and to be of assistance. So the Tao also teaches spiritually motivated leaders, or encourages them to develop spiritually. And actually, that's just part of the whole thing. It's not like, okay, I'm done. I'm spiritually evolved. It's all over. It's a constant process of looking in the mirror of our outer life that reflects back to us the ways that we need to grow, right? So I bring this up often because it's really important. When I find myself triggered by something, it's an opportunity for me to look within and say, okay, what is the belief that's going on here? What is this reflecting back to me? So that I can do the course correcting in my own heart and in my own mind and get back on the path of life and living. So there's a beautiful little story that I'd like to share with you. It's a story about a woman who was frustrated because she couldn't seem to make any more money than she was making, and it just wasn't meeting her needs. She'd go after promotions, second jobs, and she might make a few extra dollars here and there, but within a short time she'd be back to the same amount of money. So one day she had an epiphany. She realized that her dad, who had passed away some time before, had the same amount of money she made every year. And so her epiphany was that if I make more than my father made, then I am somehow dishonoring him and I might actually forget about him. And so what she did then when she realized that is she found other ways of honoring her father other than staying at the same level of income. And the moment she freed herself, not surprisingly, her income increased. Now, this is like a very practical way of how this works, how we, through our beliefs and through our ways of seeing and perceiving life, that we limit ourselves. Jenny, that was a beautiful example that you gave today of you went within and you looked and you saw, what is it that's causing this resistance in me? Why would I not want to give to a spiritual community that feeds me like this? And so it is important to take a look at what those beliefs are to get unstuck, because when we get in the flow of giving and receiving, we benefit ourselves as well as everyone else. When we are blocked off, we suffer. It causes a blockage in our own lives. So enlightened leaders then see the goodness in blessings as well as the obstacles and the challenges, because we as enlightened leaders know that these challenges are opportunities to grow. And also, that's it. Okay, so then spiritually motivated moral leadership is something for all of us. It's not just for the few that we might think of when we think of that. It's really a way of being. It's a way of life that when we embrace it, when we understand how it works, then it flows naturally. We don't have to try to do it. It just comes from our very core and center. This is how we show up. And I love that really about spiritual truth. Is yes, there's some effort in getting ourselves to sit down and meditate, right? For some of us it's a habit, but for others it's like, okay, I have to stop giving myself excuses that I don't have time, and I'm going to sit down and do it, even if it's for 15 minutes. But when we do, we open up a whole inner world of wonder and awe and beauty and magnificence that not only blesses us, but it blesses everyone around us. And I love that about spiritual truth. It just warms my heart. So let's turn within in a moment, right now, for a moment. And let's know the truth. And we're turning in affirmative prayer for those of you who are new, knowing that in this life that we are all living, that there is an infinite field of pure potentiality and possibility that not only surrounds us but fills us. We are of that one source. That source is within us. And in this very moment, as I speak this word, what I'm realizing is that that source itself is moving in me, through me, and as me, and into these words on behalf of each and every one of us here. For I know truly we are one. And so the life that we live is the life of God. It is the life of love. It is the life of peace. It is the life of purpose. It is the life of creative genius. It is our life, our beautiful, valuable, precious lives. And so I know that as each one of us make a commitment to living as spiritually motivated moral leaders in our lives, to cultivate our spirituality, to give ourselves the gift of meditation each day, to move into action in the world in selfless service, realizing that we are one, and so whatever we give to others, we are giving to ourselves, and realizing that giving to others also involves, it's not neglecting ourselves, it also involves taking good care of ourselves. And so it's taking good care of ourselves and giving in service to others, being in service to this amazing thing called life. And as we do, we continue to grow, to expand, to unfold, to be a greater and greater beneficial presence on the planet, to be that life that we came here to be. And so for this, I am so grateful. I accept the full manifestation of that goodness in my life, and I release this word into the universal law of mind, and I invite us all to embrace this truth with a vibrant yes! And so it is. Thank you.